Okay, this is express recycled reviews. These are duplicate bottles, these are single casks, these are odds and ends that I don't think really fit in a normal recycled review. Let's see what you think. What do you think here? Well, this should. But actually I didn't buy this bottle, this was gifted to me with a wee bit left in the bottom of it here, so I've not really had the whole journey through the whole bottle. MRC01, I think the MRC is Mouton Rothschild, I think is the wine. This is a wine cask Port Charlotte, heavily peated, 50% ABV. No, I tell a fib, it's cask strength, this one at 59.2% ABV. Yes, it was pretty fantastic if you like wine matured whiskey. For me, sometimes the wine fights with the whiskey, honestly. However, this was a cracker. What would I score this at? Should I score these? Aye, okay. Just for kicks. Port Charlotte MRC01, I would give 7.5 out of 10. But that's because wine, it's the wine maturation thing. Anyway, we have here a Cadenhead's Altmore Glenlivet 20-year-old. I couldn't believe I picked this up, a 20-year-old whiskey for £50. Okay, so there are bargains out there to be had. Loved every minute of this. Altmore is a whiskey that you can't easily get your hands on outside of their official range. When you do see it, when you come across it, you realise it's got a lot to offer. This was ex-bourbon matured and I loved it. From Cadenhead Small Batch Collection, 53.1%. Terrific whiskey, 8.5 out of 10 all day long. This is a blended Scotch whisky. What's the ABV on this? 44.8% ABV, but it's from North Star. It was fully natural, this blended malt, this blended Scotch whisky. 40 years old, £120 I paid for it, £120 I paid for this for a 40-year-old whiskey. But I bought it for a specific reason. I bought it to celebrate a certain benchmark in Patreon. So I cut this into lots of little samples and shared it with patrons that I could put it in their hands and say thanks for the support over the years. Lovely whiskey, a fantastic treat of a blend. It's a whiskey in its own right though. Probably get a 7.5 or an 8. It wasn't brilliant. It was interesting and you were sipping history. And it was a bit of a celebration. However, would I buy it again? I'm not sure I would. £120 is a very fair price for this calibre of whiskey though. Where else can you get a 40-year-old whiskey for that price? Well done, North Star. Terrific stuff. Aye, not bad. This isn't really express, is it? Again, this is a Glenelgan, a 19-year-old Glenelgan. Glenelgan's a fantastic spirit. Really, it's ignored by Diageo, let's be honest. So you need to go in independent to get a really good Glenelgan, and when you do, it's fabulous, fantastic. This was given to me with only a wee drop left in the bottom, so it doesn't make a recycled review. This was a special release from Royal Mile Whiskies to celebrate Alex McCullough's 2 decades working at Royal Mile Whiskies. This was a really lovely touch that he did for their staff there. Terrific stuff at 19 years old. Nice touch, great value whiskey when it was out, 50.2% ABV. Grab some independent Glenelgan if you can. It's a real treat, honestly. Okay, Black Magic in the Black Forest, SMWS, 68.15. This was a Blair Athol. The reason I've put this in here is to talk about the rechar cask thing. I think that rechar casks can bring a really unique flavour. Some of our favourite whiskies over the recent years have been rechar casks, right? This showed that. It brings a real kind of intensity, real spice, real kind of texture and grip. Interesting product, 8-year-old whiskey. I would have another bottle of this because I thought it was pretty good. 8 out of 10. Keep the corks. Here we have a 30-year-old. A 30-year-old whiskey. SNWS is about £300 retail, far too much money for me to spend normally, but I could buy this at half price under a special offer at SNWS, so I picked this up at £155, and it was sublime. Ex-bourbon, tells us on here it's a refill ex-bourbon barrel, 15th of February 1990, bottled in 2020, I guess then. I so wish there was even a wee drip of this left. Wonderful treat of a thing. Another SMWS, this is quite old. This is 7235, Pink Grapefruit Granita. I think this is 72, I think that's Milton Duff or something. 28-year-old whiskey, not bad. Vanilla. There was a kind of grapefruit edge to it, there was a light effervescence, but not a lot beyond that. I wouldn't really replace this one again. 50% ABV cask strength, 7.5 out of 10, not bad. Tomatin Legacy, still growing strong, still excellent value. There's a wee drip in here. Batch variation's a thing, some are very spirity. This is a spirity one actually, now I taste it. Very light, very easy drinking, very good value. Just because it's not an age statement, 43%, don't discount it. Always does tremendously well in blind tastings, of course. I've reviewed this before, this is a duplicate. Talking of duplicates, Coke Irn-12. You're not going to sit there, or there. I was tearing through this at an alarming rate because I love the stuff. £35 a bottle for a 12-year-old single malt Campbelltown whisky. Just absolutely terrific value. Now, it's like everything else from that distillery down there, or those distilleries down there I should say. Really tough to get your hands on still. 9 out of 10 whisky. If you see Coke Irn-12, just pick it up. Different shaped bottle now, still the same liquid, getting better all the time. Fantastic. 9 out of 10. Glenfiddich Solera, 15-year-old. 40% ABV. Not everything needs to be high ABV all the time, you know, it's nice to have these lighter whiskies that are enjoyable and delicious, a bit like the Balvenie 12 I spoke about, that you can share with folk. Unfortunately, there's just too many of them and it just becomes a sea of vanilla. This is a wee bit different. This is a fairly decent 40% whisky, I would say, and it deserves another half or point more than its kind of vanilla neighbours for that reason. The Solera thing that they've got is this huge vat up at Glenfiddich, and they continually add more product to it, minimum of 15 years old, so it's, in theory, it's getting more mature all the time as a kind of Solera blend. Out of all the Glenfiddichs that are available for sale, I usually have the 12 on my shelf, but this is probably the one that I would buy again. £43 I think it costs round about now, which is great value, so you can't argue with it from that point of view, but just know that it's not going to jump out the glass at you. It's just nice and easy and a wee bit interesting. Irn-Bru, the 1901. It's full of sugar, but it tastes like childhood. It's fantastic. And finally, the recycling is almost done. A teeny wee drop. Lagavulin 16, I owe this whisky a lot. The reason that I'm a whisky geek, the reason that my life is what it is today is down to this bottle in 2009. However, it's getting more and more expensive all the time, and I wouldn't mind that. £70 for a 16-year-old Islay single malt whisky, you know, £70, £80, not much to talk about. If there's more whisky in it than this. This was always given a buy because it was 43%, chill filtered, coloured. Still it's Lagavulin at 16, it's wonderful. Now it's in a real place of real competition. This might be suddenly a space in my cabinet, and that would be the first time in 12 years or more. Still, I love it, but it's not 80 quid whisky. Anyway, let's make a wee world blend, shall we? Let's put a wee bit of the Knob Creek into the dregs of the Scotch. Aye, well, I've enjoyed hanging out in my driveway, talking to my camera for another session. I'll try and make the next one a bit sooner. Cheers, folks.